What's up, YouTube? It's the Dead Noob. I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison of EFT and IRR. So if anybody knows, these are both extraction shooters, and EFT's been out for about a decade now, so we know that EFT's up there. It's had plenty of time to refine things. IRR has been out for a couple years, I think, and they haven't really had the amount of time or money invested in the game to go ahead and do the kind of upgrades. Although, that being said, I wouldn't count them out of this fight. All right, as I go through some of my settings to get my graphics comparable between both games, we'll go ahead and get into this right now. Starting off with how we're going to grade this. So the rubric is a 5-point metrics with 1 to 5 rating. 1.5 or half points also count. So let's go ahead and start with the first metric, graphics. Now, as I do a side-by-side comparison, the top left-hand corner is Incursion Red River, and bottom right-hand corner is Streets of Tarkov map in Tarkov. Incursion Red River doesn't really have different maps. You drop into the same map. It's just different drop points, and then you get sandboxed from there. And as you can tell, the winter event is still going on in Tarkov, but once that's done, everything's going to revert back to the way it was. And the reason I did a side-by-side with Streets of Tarkov, which is the most difficult rendering map that Tarkov has, is to show you that Incursion Red River is holding its weight against EFT and with the most difficult map. So as far as graphics are concerned, I give them both a 4. And we'll go ahead and get right into the second metric, audio. Because, I mean, visual and audio tie into that whole immersion thing, right? So what I'll do is I'll shut up and just play some audio from the game, about 15 seconds on both. That way you kind of get a feel for what's going on, to include gunfire. Hopefully I catch it right. All right, here we go. All right, so that was Escape from Tarkov, 15 seconds, and then we'll go ahead and get into Incursion Red River. All right, here we go.
Target acquired. Enter. Cover me.
So for audio, I'm going to go ahead and give EFT a 5 and IRR a 3, only because EFT has a lot more dynamic map design and stuff that's got going on. They just have it. All right, so here we go. Next metric. So the next metric is going to be UI, user interface. So I'll go ahead and do a stills side-by-side of EFT and IRR, specifically around the vendors and markets, I guess you want to call it that, because one's a flea market, one's a black market. All right, so I'll go ahead and pop them up right here. These stills from EFT, top left-hand corner is going to be the market, top right-hand corner is the vendor interface, bottom left-hand corner is your hideout, and bottom right-hand corner is your missions and tasks that are assigned or open. Apples to apples comparison, so they're pretty much the same layout, but this is the IRR side of the house. You can see that their UI is a little gray, a little bland. Hideout is lacking depth and a little bit more, you know, it needs more pizzazz, so to speak. So on the UI side of the house, I'm going to give EFT a 4 and IRR a 2.5. They need to change that grayscale for everything. It drags the game down and kind of bores your eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and give that one to EFT. For metric 4, I'm going to go with progression. Now I'm going to let some gameplay go in the background and just kind of walk through about 10 seconds each on IRR and EFT. So I'll start with the one that I am extremely familiar with, and that's EFT. So you have several vendors that you have to progress. Now they have loyalty levels. You have to go through 1 through 4, and 4 being capped out. You'll get a little crown next to their picture. So when you're progressing, you're going to have to do missions for them, spend money with them, and don't piss them off. So you could literally piss one vendor off by doing something for a different vendor. The one that comes to mind the most is the scabs. So you got to pretty much play by the rules, but in the process of doing that, you'll piss off the other vendors. Or if you're playing the other vendors, you'll piss off, the dude that runs the scabs. Progression in that manner is really not that hard or that difficult to mitigate or manage. The one thing is Jaeger. Jaeger is at the far right end of your vendors, and he does a PvP side of the house. There are missions you can do in the PvE, and I've got him as far as I can possibly go without playing PvP. I'm not great at PvP yet, so it's an acquired taste. On IRR, it's not necessarily the same. You don't piss off one vendor by doing something for another. Currently, I only have 3 vendors, although I don't know if there's more or if that dynamic plays into it. I don't know exactly how it is that they do their entire progression. That's kind of biased, leaning towards EFT. However, because of Jaeger and locking things behind the PvP wall, I'm going to give progression to IRR. I'm going to go ahead and call it. All right. So I'm going to give IRR a 4. I'm going to go ahead and give EFT a 3. So when it comes to first-person shooters, military shooters, extraction shooters, any type of the shooter genre, gun porn. So metric 5, gonna be gun porn. I am a gun nut. I have guns. I build them. I repair them. I do pretty much everything with firearms. Love them to death. Very safety-minded, so on and so forth. So when I got introduced to EFT, I fell in love immediately because of the gun porn. There's other things about this game that absolutely, unequivocally piss me off. The bullet sponginess of bosses, so on and so forth. It's just simple stuff. Locking things behind the PvP wall, so on and so forth. That kind of crap. But when it comes to the building, modifying, and restoring, EFT has the edge on mods and saving. IRR has the edge on repairs. Now, if you're looking for that full immersive thing, EFT is going to kill it because you have to have a weapons kit to repair. It's based on your skill level. You don't necessarily be able to repair from 70 to 90. You might be only might only be able to repair from 70 to 80 because of your skill level. Maybe you don't have a full weapons kit. There's other, factors that go into play. When it comes to IRR, you just spend the money for the repair and you're right back to 100%. On the top of that, reloading in EFT takes time. You're going to stand there exposed, or you're standing there in your menu clicking a button. Not physically, but once you tell it to reload a magazine, you're going to sit there and punch that thing, and it depends on what it is. Could take you a second per round, or 2 seconds per round, or a half a second per round. So based on the caliber, the magazine size, and your skill. IRR, you just tell it to reload, and boom, it's done. It's as fast as you can click a button or bind it to a macro. So EFT is going to win in the gun porn metric. All right, I'm going to give EFT a 5, and I'm going to give IRR a 3.5. There's going to be people out there that say that this is bias, it's not a fair comparison, or maybe you're just an EFT fanboy. In all honesty, I like EFT, and it's just a good game. IRR, it needs a little bit of development. It needs to be worked on. If it gets worked on, I'm pretty sure it could probably be right up there alongside EFT. So that's just, EFT has already had a decade to kind of fix their problems and get their shit straight. IRR hasn't had that kind of time yet. But if it stays relevant as long as EFT has, then there's a very good possibility that it could be right up there and even surpass it one day. It's just too early to tell. Where games have life cycles of maybe 2 to 3 years, EFT's been at it for 10. So, especially in the first-person shooter genre, they tend to fall off the wayside really quickly, where new games come out or people just get bored because there's no new content. So, as long as they stay focused on it, they should be good to go. All right, so that's going to do it for the Dead Noob. Hey, people, be good or be good at it. I'm out.